Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy Patience and I decided to come at you guys with a little new one. In this one I want to do a little cargo mission with you guys, which was referenced onto myself from Kabutopz. I'll leave a reference to each channel. The idea here is to fill the Atlas, I'm not sure if this is the Atlas raft, using the Atlas, the ARGO Atlas and the ARGO raft in order to get my cargo done. This is a planetary mission. In this instance I'm using ARGO to Virginie, and I'm just showing you how you can make a couple hundreds of thousands really quickly using this particular method. Now I have the ARGO Atlas on my planet side, and I have another one that I've purchased. I believe I purchased both of them for 60,000, so 120,000 in total, one on the planet, one on the space station. This way I ain't got to carry one, and I can just employ it as I reach up and unload boxes, come down, etc, and I've got enough room in order to load the ship up with as much cargo as possible. So what I've done is I've hauled the ARGO Atlas up, which is the machine that I'm using to tractor beam, and I do all of this by clicking Z once I've entered into the Atlas. To enter the Atlas, obviously you press the F button, and then on that, once you get into the Atlas comfortably, you press the Z button so you can look left and right without the mechanics following your looking angle. With this, you then, I believe you left click. I might do a live version just so I know exactly what I'm talking about, be sure, but you left click to ensure that you can grab your item, your cargo. You look where you want to put it and you left click again, and that's exactly where it drops it. So it's just left click and left click, which is a very intuitive way of doing things. Why do I say that? Because it's quite interesting that something so simple can get something so time consuming done so efficiently, which I thought was very amazing. And taking into consideration, we do have the power lift and we do have the multi-tool, but this actually comes with a little enhancement quality of life feature that actually works and benefits the player, which I thought was just amazing, which is why I had to buy two of these machines to use. So at times you'll see me speed the video up as well, guys. So once we've loaded these up, you're gonna see how I do away with the Atlas, because how I put it away is exactly how you kind of like summon it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here in this lift, which is called the cargo elevator, guys. You can do it one of two ways. You can do it this way, or you can pick it up with your multi-tool and just kind of like tractor it into here. And this is where you would come to bring it down to store it, and where you'd go to bring it up to summon it. You don't bring it up via where the elevator, where the spaceships come up. Interactions would usually be done with the button F. Like here, I'm going to call the elevator. I would hold the button F and use my mouse to click on the correct kind of like notion. As you can see, it calls up a HUD screen, and I can take my time and interact the way that I do. Once I've done that, I select the floor that I want to go to. In this instance, it'll be the first floor. Doors will open up automatically. I take the right turn here. I'm in the cockpit. As you can see, the cockpit is nice and spacious. I can sit down into the cockpit, and this is a very good ship to do cargo with, because as you see, everything is open and easy to access. So there's no issue there. To start your ship, you can either do it a multiple of ways. My favorite way is to press the key U and then to press the key I, And then usually I press OP to turn off my shields and my guns. This will help me conserve energy, but you don't have to do that. But it is best to press P to turn off your weapons, because most space stations and planetary stations don't like when you approach with your weapons hanging out, because they'll flag you about it. Use your spacebar to elevate. As you can see me doing here, you pressed I believe it would be K for your VTOLs, and everything you're seeing here is pretty straightforward. A manual. I press forward with my W key to move forwards. I press S key to move backwards in the ship, and I press the A and the D key, and that would be D for Delta, in order to move left and right. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing as realistic as possible, guys. So I'm leaving the docking station, as far as I'm aware, in the correct manner, warming up my engines and just getting ready to take off and rise off into space. And I believe this would be the channel that we would take, I think, you know, like officially. So that's what I'm doing here, guys. So it is quite a lot of information to take in, but once you're able to handle the amount of things that you have to do, because it is very simplified, it's easier to keep up at that moment, guys. Now the idea here is, once I bring my mission up, which is the cargo that you can see at the bottom end of my ship, I'm going to now switch my missions round, so I've got another bulk that I can carry down to the planet side from the space station, and this will be my routine back and forth until I'm satisfied with the profits that I have. But within that notion, I will have a few pitch notes I would like to pitch on to make this seem even more realistic, guys. But yes, I do love space trucking quite a bit, guys. So as you can see, it's a beautiful ship that I'm flying right here. It does look quite scientifical, science fictional rather. Something that you see that looks very similar to something like the Nostromo from the Aliens movies. So I think it looks pretty darn gorgeous. I would like to start seeing solar flares, etc. Here what you just saw is I did like my quantum jump. Quantum jump is something that you use by holding the key letter B, and then once you spooled up your engines, you point to a certain location that you want to jump to, and then you would hold the left click for about a good solid second and then release. To get out of this quantum boost mode, you hold B again, you go back into your stationary mode. When I say stationary, you're flying at a speed that's more commonly used by normal air trafficking services. So here I'm getting ready to pull up to my docking station at the space station, and I will hold Control and N in order to signal the docking station service to allow way for me to come in and land or dock. So within that time period, guys, from the planet up to here where I am, it takes about half an hour in real time, 20 minutes to half an hour, depending on how efficient and effective your playstyle is, using the Argo and how realistically you're trying to play. You can squish that down to about 10 to 15 minutes if you're, you know, like a real kind of like game freak. So what you will find is the physics are relatively neat. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're true to life, but that could be easily placed under the realms of debatableism, because everyone's going to have their arguments as to how space may or may not work. But there's so many, I guess you could say, great minds, and there's so many arguments that will point in one direction as to some of the few others. So if we was to relate this to any of those, it would be hard to decipher whether the physics are as accurate as could be or not, which is something that I would like to see addressed ASAP. But it is something that you can get used to relatively quick, guys. So again, I press the K key in order to lower my VTOL, which just adds to that immersion for me, and I will press I believe it's the control key in order to descend my ship so as to land. Once I've done that, another very important and crucial note would be to press the C key. The C key can turn your ship into decoupled mode and coupled mode. Decoupled mode allows your ship to drift, so you're conserving energy but you maintain movement, speed, velocity, etc. And once you press C again, then your ship will begin to use its brakes and the immediate functions to ensure that you have absolute control over your vessel. Doors will likely open up automatically for you, but you will hold the F key at the the computer module in order to interact with it. So here we want to exit the ship, so you use your mouse and you will left click on the action that you want to achieve. And then once I reach the rear of the ship, the first thing I will do is I'll go and summon my Atlas from the elevator. And remember, you will use the cargo elevator. As you can see, there's a little picture on the right side of the screen indicating that it's my Atlas, my ARGO Atlas. So I'm going to click that, and I can either drag it or I can move it to the elevator, and then I will summon the elevator to come back up. And in this instance, I won't get into the Atlas. I'll use my tractor beam or my power lift to drag it into position, just to show the multiple functions you can use in order to achieve a certain action. So that's where I want it placed. I can also use this power lift to maneuver the cargo boxes from one position or one location to another, which I may just go ahead and showcase. But here I will get ready to speed up the video, because it's something that we've already seen and we're familiar with how this function may or may not work. Now, one of my arguments would be, what I would like to see would be ensuring that each functions of each tractor device is used more efficiently and more effectively. What do I mean? I would like to see that tractor beams or multi-tools are only able to commit to certain basic level tasks, like reaching things that are out of reach, picking up handheld weapons, and maybe the occasional ship weapon, because these things do have weight. I would also like to see the power lift handling crates or cargo or up to the size of four SDU crate cargos, and certain heavier tools like this ARGO Atlas that I'm using to tractor things from one side to another. And then obviously the Atlas would haul boxes or SCUs that are size 8, which are these boxes that I'm maneuvering now, or these size 16s, and the size 16s and the size 32s. The reason being is because these things do have weight, and it would be nice to see certain tools having priority over others. This would indicate that their purpose, they would have a better purpose and better significance, if you ask me. Again, adding to the immersion. At this point, it is very important to ensure that you do stack your cargo correctly, because you could make your work very tedious otherwise. Once that's done, I will leave the Argo Atlas and I will send the cargo down the elevator. But it does not end here, guys. Again, the F key is the master key here, so I will use the F key to which is holding down the F key to ensure that I'm able to interact, and then I will left click and pull the mouse where I want my pointer to be in order to interact with whatever it is I want to interact with. I believe I've lost the cargo, but I left it down on the planet side, but at this point I haven't figured that bit out yet. So ensure to do your checks as well, because that is actually quite crucial if you want to get your full pay slip. So I'll send these things down the chute, and on doing so you will receive your credits for doing your tasks. And that's the pop-up that you can see at the top of the screen there. So now what I'm going to do, you do get paid quite a bit, but I didn't get paid for a million. It was roughly about 500,480 or something that I might have been paid. In fact, for that one I was only paid just under 100,000. Now what I would do is I will accept contracts from the space station heading down towards the planet. As you saw, I had contracts from the planet heading up to the space station, which is where we are now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for 50Ks, and you get about 6 of these missions. So in all that would be 300,000. And then I will accept another 2 missions on top of that, which will make me the 480,000 or something, roughly thereabouts. Now, to completely commit and fulfill that contract, because this ship can't haul all of those packages at once, it is a 2-turn trip in order to receive your whole credits income, or your pay slip. I won't go into detail with the missions at this point. I will probably use that for another video, guys. At this point, what I'm trying to do is carefully select how I place my cargo onto the elevator. So I'll come back to these ones. The reason being is because if my memory serves me correctly, depending on how you position them on the elevator, so whichever ones you choose first and whichever ones you choose last, will kind of depict how they will be placed on the elevator. So when they do come up, it makes it easier for you to set the bigger crates at the back and the smaller ones at the front. And I will show you why that is, guys. In fact, I will tell you. The Atlas does not have a border when you're stacking to the opposite end, to the further end, so your boxes can kind of like clip through the cockpit region and be thrown about the hangar. The hangar is the space that I myself, the character and the spaceship and everything else about is situated within. So taking that into consideration, you want to put the bigger crates, you want to stack those ones first so that you can push all the smaller crates upon those bigger crates. This way they don't go slipping through, they don't go flying all over the place, and you don't end up with any accidents, guys. Oh, and in order to pop this screen up, to, you know, go searching for your missions and contracts, it is wise to read those lower sub menus at the bottom of the screen there. You press either your F1 key or you press your F2 key. But it is good to take your time to go through all the sub menus so you can get used to the menus your darn self anyway. I will bring my missions down the elevator because the idea is to bring them back up the chute with the other missions as well, so as to have them placed in the right position to make my workload easier, guys. So as you can see, in order to accept all the missions again, to view them, you've got to make sure the two green HUDs that are shining above the boxes that are just clicked, you have to make sure they're lit up, otherwise you won't see all of your missions. So that's very important, but that's something I'll probably try to go deeper with you guys in the future, something similar to like a tutorial, but just to keep you in the know-how. As you can see, the boxes are stacked a bit better for me. So I'm just going to use a quick kind of like a induction, as it were, to show you why it's best how to place these boxes before we get serious with this one. I had to kind of like trim the video, so that's why the boxes have changed a little bit. But these are some of the issues that we can face when the boxes aren't stacked correctly. You will have to fiddle with them, and it can be quite time consuming. So having the power to place the boxes on the elevator correctly to how you want them to come up on the elevator is very, very crucial and very user friendly. The quality of life features are very much so needed here, and I can't stress that enough for you guys. So I must clear the way. The boxes obviously can hit you. They do weigh quite a bit, so they can punch you over. But once I make room, you do have to make way for yourself in order to ensure that you have room to pick things up and maneuver them properly, similar to how it would be in the real world. You want to stack the boxes right at the front of the ship like this. And then that way, from there, we can start pushing the smaller boxes up behind them so that they don't go flying in any other direction to cause accidents and damage, etc. I'm not sure if they will ever bring damage features onto the cargo to ensure that we handle them with care and delicacies, guys. But here I'll sped the video up, so I'll spend a little bit more time with you guys here as we just talk our way through and spend a little time together. So another thing that I would like would be the fabricator. So far at the moment, we use the fabricator to go and pick up blueprints from around the universe, from locations that are unknown to us. Now at the moment, I'm speaking in a microphone, I have phones, I have a TV, I have a computer system. And each of these things technically use blueprints. They have a manual, guys. And what I would do with that manual is I would learn how the product works. The manual usually comes with the product, guys. So what I would do is I would put the manual into the fabricator. This is in the real world, and I would operate with the fabricator that way. The fabricator would be in the know-how, because you buy something, the manual comes with it. Taking that into consideration, guys. The fabricator, once it does receive the blueprint, unfortunately only gives you base model materials, which, if you ask me, is quite boring. Why do I say that? What I would like, guys, my darn self, as a consumer of the product that we have here in front of us, would be to have the power to custom design my own blueprints. So I have the base genome of, let's just say, the Antiums, which is armor. So I have the base genome of armor, and the armor usually comes in a specific range of colors. In this instance, it comes in the color blue. And blue is the only color you can find anywhere around the verse, because they did not choose to make it in red. I don't want the color red, and I don't want the color blue. I want the color yellow. I'll put it in the fabricator, and I can now create armor piece that is very rare, because I say I want it to be yellow. And then I say I also want to put my own logo onto this thing. Now, what's your logo? It would be your organization logo, because you want people to recognize your newcomers from your superiors, and you want your newcomers to also be able to understand who their superiors are. That's the whole point of organizations. So this is why I would like to the fabricator to give the gamers a little bit more power over their blueprints, because it makes it a little bit more, I guess you could say, user-friendly, a little bit more meaningful to the user, rather than just kind of like creating something from the base product, but now saying that it has better stats. I'm not necessarily too fond of the idea of stats, my darn self. If you were to take glass and you were to take wood, you wouldn't necessarily compare the two via stats. You would say that one has a better value over the other when considering durability. And you would say that metal has a better kind of durability against, let's say, bulletproof glass. Now, why wouldn't you use reinforcements? So like maybe you're wearing light armor, and atop your light armor, you also wear heavy armor. Not necessarily super heavy armor, but a range or tier of heavy armor that can be considered something like medium armor, but it's heavy armor simply because it has more materials in it than the norm, and probably weighs a little bit past the tipping scale of the typical medium sized armors. So these are some of the things that I would like to see kind of like thought about and brought into the game. Something that makes it a little bit more meaningful to the user, the gamer, the player, rather than just saying, okay, you've now got your blueprints, you can upgrade your gear, but you're only upgrading your stats. It's a bit boring, guys. So as well, I do want to get into, I believe certain things shouldn't necessarily need a manual or blueprints, because most things we buy come with manuals and blueprints, at least in the real world. But certain rare items, you should have to try and find the manual and the blueprints, especially because they're rare, especially items similar to like Alienware technology. So if you got human armor that was made by aliens, well, then you got to find a blueprint. And if you got a gun that's obviously maybe alien, or maybe it was made by the UEE, but it was like a weapon that was made in secret, or it weren't meant to be posted out to the general public. These things will have blueprints that you gotta go and search for, rare items. That would make a little bit more sense to me. Obviously here I'm in decoupled mode. This is how I'm able to get this little seamless kind of descent with my ship. I'll fly above my hangar, and then I'll press control. I'll only tap it, don't keep your finger on it, because the second you tap it, just like inertia, your ship will continue to move consistently until it reaches a premium point, like a decisive point. So anyway guys, once we've done that, you can take your time and begin to unload your cargo, which is one of the most beautiful and somewhat kind of it's very sedative. You can do this for a very long time. You get lost in this kind of duty of work, as it were. It is quite fun being a space trucker. I can't even lie, I enjoy it so much. But it does come with its consequences. Obviously, we're still in early days of patches, so you are going to find lots of bugs and errors here and there. But if you enjoy it as much as I do, you will be able to kind of like see past those faults. Once you've unloaded, guys, you get ready for the next round, and you just keep loading that until you have however much credits it is that you've gone in for, or then some, and then you can go and buy your new ship. Again, I have to reach out to Kabutopz. Thanks a lot for this one. It's your boy Patience, guys. I hope you like what you be seasoned and heard, and if you did, you need those thumbs and those likes and those comments down below. And if you have any queries, guys, over and out.